Your last cheap meal is disappearing and no one is telling you why. Right now, something unusual is happening across America, the quiet collapse of budget fast food chains. No press releases, no headlines, just one familiar store, one glowing sign at a time, vanishing in silence. And where does the hit land the hardest? Not in the big cities, but in working-class suburbs, small towns, the places where a $6 meal used to be a lifeline after a long, exhausting day. Now it is no longer an option. Inflation keeps climbing. Bills keep piling up. And the brands people once trusted are quietly retreating, shutting down one location after another, leaving consumers stranded in the toughest of times. Today, these are the 7 fast food chains that are disappearing right now, starting with a name once called the King of the American West. Number 1, Jack in the Box. Do you remember those late-night stops, stomach-growling streetlights buzzing yellow? And the only place still lit up was Jack in the Box. Now try pulling up to one of those old spots. The parking lot might be empty, the drive-through window covered up, and that red and white clown head logo, gone. In 2025, Jack in the Box is quietly shrinking. 21 stores shut down in just the third quarter. And according to leaked internal plans, that number could top 100 before the year is over. They're not declaring bankruptcy, they're not blaming the economy, they just call it strategic restructuring. But for suburban folks, the night shift workers, delivery drivers, the mechanics heading home late, that so-called restructuring simply means one more familiar place disappearing. Jack used to be an icon, a brand that dared to be different. From cheap little taco pockets to burgers dripping with sauce, their menu was once a lifeline for anyone who could not afford a real meal. So what happened? Prices climbed, quality slipped, service got messy, half-baked rollouts, like the Jack on Track campaign, only left customers more confused. You order the $5 combo. What you get back is a tiny box of thin patty cold fries. They say ingredient costs went up, but you know what? That feeling of being disrespected has no excuse. Many loyal customers just walked away quietly. Sales nosedived, stock plunged, executives started jumping ship. The scariest part is not the loss of a brand. It is the loss of something familiar being chipped away from everyday life. We are not just losing a fast food joint, we are losing a pit stop, a habit, a place that was always open when the rest of the world was asleep. And have you noticed? No major outlet is talking about this. No warnings, no questions asked. Like what will replace the street corners where Jack in the Box once stood. In an America that is slowly turning its back on the working class, every closed store is a reminder you are no longer part of the plan. Jack in the Box once owned every highway of the West. Now it is pulling back from those very roads, where people still live, still eat, and still wait for something that does not disappear. Number 2, Del Taco. If you have ever driven through the Southwest, you have probably seen Del Taco. Not as flashy as Taco Bell, not as polished as Chipotle, but reliable enough to pull over, grab a warm burrito, and keep moving. The problem is now you might have to drive much farther to find one. Sometimes, you will not find it at all. Del Taco is not shutting down in waves. It is choosing to disappear quietly, one location at a time, and because of that, hardly anyone notices. No signs, no hashtags, no headlines. You come back, and it is gone. Inside its parent company, Jack in the Box, Del Taco has been labeled non-strategic assets. In plain English, if they need to sell, they will sell. If they need to close, they will close. A brand that has been around for more than 60 years now stands at a crossroads with no clear direction. And who feels the loss first? Not the shareholders. It is the workers stopping by after late shifts, the college students who cannot afford a real sit-down meal on campus, the families of 3 driving home to the suburbs looking for something warm to eat without having to swipe a credit card. They never picked Del Taco because of ads. They picked it for its steadiness. A steadiness they can no longer count on. The problem is not the food, it is the system running behind it that has weakened the brand. Service is inconsistent, locations open in places where people no longer live. Managers are not trained to keep staff, and customers have no reason to come back if the first visit let them down. You know what is strange? Even the loyal fans are not angry. They are just sad, because Del Taco was never a giant. No one expected breakthroughs, they just wanted it to exist. As an option, a simple stop along the way. And now even that existence is being treated as unnecessary. Here's something worth thinking about when a brand like Del Taco gets erased and no one bothers to speak up. What does that say about how we treat working class folks? The people who are not asking for a dining experience, but simply a meal that is quick, clean, and cheap. Do not let the silence fool you. The disappearance of Del Taco is not random. It is part of a new order, where anyone who does not turn a profit gets wiped off the map. Number 3, Papa Murphy's. Remember when you could bring home an unbaked pizza, fire up the oven, and bake it yourself for the family? The smell of melting cheese filling the kitchen. The feeling that even if it was only half the cooking, you were still taking responsibility for dinner. Papa Murphy's used to thrive on that. No industrial ovens, no delivery, no dining tables. Just walk in, pick your toppings, they wrap it up, and you bake it at home. That model once helped them grow fast. But you know what? The very thing that was their strength has now become their weakness. After the pandemic, consumer habits shifted. People did not want more chores. They wanted food ready to eat. They no longer had the time or the energy to preheat an oven after a 10-hour workday, buying a raw pizza and still having to cook it. Just hearing it sounds exhausting. Then food delivery apps exploded and Papa Murphy's fell behind. They did not deliver. They were not convenient enough. They stopped fitting into people's lives. The result? From 1,500 stores less than a decade ago, they are now down to under 100. Many of those are just hanging on revenue, stuck in that gray zone, where they cannot expand, but also are not failing fast enough to close. Local governments in states like Oregon and Idaho have even offered tax breaks to keep stores alive, but that is only a temporary fix. Customers are confused. A model that once felt familiar, once gave that sense of family-made, is now being abandoned by the very people it served. Does it hurt a little to see something decent, something meaningful not survive in an age of hyperspeed and hyperconvenience? This is not just about losing a pizza chain. It is about losing a piece of the culture of making something for each other. The kind of thing that once made dinner more than just pushing a button to order food. Papa Murphy's has no scandals, no lawsuits. They are simply out of step with the times. And in today's world, if you do not match the new pace of consumption, you do not get to exist. Number 4, Checkers and Rallies. Some brands collapse because of financial mistakes. Others fall because their business model is outdated. But Checkers and Rallies, they were not pushed out by the market. They lost themselves. Once a symbol of cheap, fast food, their unique double drive-through model helped them boom in areas with heavy traffic. They never competed with luxury. They relied on one promise: hot, fast, affordable food. And they delivered on that, until they no longer did. People started complaining the fries were cold, the burgers were soggy, the drinks watered down. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was that Checkers and Rallies became known as a symbol of cutting corners. Ask any delivery driver working a night shift. They will tell you the truth. If I get an order from Checkers, I double-check everything. Too many times something is missing, something is wrong, or I just get treated with no respect. A fast food brand, once a go-to spot for students, night workers, and anyone with only $5 left in their wallet, has now become a place people avoid. Why? Because they refuse to listen. When customers said the food was cold, they blamed staff. When people complained about cleanliness, they called it an isolated incident. When one-star reviews piled up, they launched a new marketing campaign instead of fixing the operation. From 2023 to mid-2025, more than 130 Checkers and Rallies locations shut down. But what is more telling than the closures is this: fewer and fewer people even mention them as a trustworthy choice. In fast food, no one dies from a handful of bad reviews. But when customers start to feel embarrassed for choosing you, there is nothing left to save. States like Georgia, Mississippi, and Pennsylvania, once strongholds for the chain, are now seeing them disappear faster than they did during COVID. And the real question we should be asking is this: why are the places that working class people rely on, the people with the fewest options, the first to be abandoned by big brands? Checkers and Rallies did not just fail in quality, they failed in keeping trust. The one thing that truly keeps customers coming back. Number 5, Steak and Shake. Do you remember the last time the whole family sat down together at Steak and Shake? The cold but spotless stainless steel tables, the rich smell of milkshakes in the air, servers dressed in black and white uniforms that felt like a glimpse of America's golden age, and a hearty burger brought right to your table without a price tag that broke the bank. That used to be part of the memory for millions of American families. Steak and Shake was never just a diner. It was a place where you could bring your spouse, your kids, even your grandparents, and feel proud to share a meal. Then everything started to change, but not in the way people hoped. As the world chased technology, Steak and Shake rushed to reinvent itself. Table service disappeared, ordering kiosks went in, staff was cut, the menu stripped down. They tried to look modern just like every other fast food chain. And that was the moment they lost what made them who they were. Because people never went to Steak and Shake just to push buttons on a screen. They went to be served, to feel a different kind of warmth in a world that was becoming colder every day. But now, over the past 3 years, more than 200 Steak and Shake locations have shut down. States like Indiana, Missouri, and Ohio, once the heart of the chain, are seeing the retreat most clearly. Customers did not walk away because of the food. They walked away because they felt betrayed. The name Steak and Shake, once a symbol of old-fashioned American decency, has become an example of how businesses chase profit while ignoring the emotions of the people who supported them. Think about it. If you just want a cheap, quick burger, you already have a dozen choices. What made Steak and Shake special was that it was not like the rest. And now they're trying to become exactly like everyone else. Attempts at revival, raising funds through franchising, or rolling out open kitchen, no staff models only make the brand feel stranger. Because they forgot one thing: customers are not investing in machines. They are investing in memories. When a brand trades away its soul for convenience, the first ones to leave are always the most loyal. And when working-class American families no longer feel comfortable in a place that was once an icon, you know the country is shifting. Steak and Shake was not killed by the market, they dismantled their own soul. And what remains is a generation of customers quietly asking, what do we have left? Number 6, MOD Pizza. Mod Pizza was once praised as a fresh breeze in American fast food. Not just because of its stone-baked pizzas or unlimited toppings, but because it dared to put people before profit. They hired former inmates. They trained the homeless. They promised to build a model where everyone deserved a second chance. And for a while, they pulled it off. MOD grew fast, expanded to more than 500 locations. They were called the Starbucks of pizza. Investors lined up, the media cheered, customers embraced them. It all felt unstoppable. Until they ran into one truth: kindness is not immune to operating costs. From 2023 to mid-2025, MOD Pizza quietly shut down more than 80 stores. And for the first time, leadership admitted publicly they could not keep up with wages, rent, food costs, and the mistakes of expanding too quickly. But the heartbreak lies here. People are not upset at MOD for bad pizza or slow service. They are upset because it feels like a beautiful dream is being crushed by harsh reality, and no one is stepping in to save it. Do you know what happens when a brand is loved for its ideals, but cannot survive in an economy that counts every penny? It leaves an emptiness behind. Customers are not just losing another food option. They are losing part of their belief that good people can make it in this world. Now, MOD Pizza is stuck between two impossible choices: hold on to its ideals and keep bleeding money, or cut costs, raise prices, and lose the very thing that made it different. No one wants to watch MOD collapse, but that is exactly what is happening. And the scarier thought is this: if even a good brand cannot survive, how many other good things will be swept away with it? Do you ever wonder if today's economy has any room left for humanity? Or if it only rewards the brands that squeeze costs and strip away compassion? The answer might be in the number of MOD stores disappearing each month, and in the eyes of the employees who once believed they were working for something bigger than themselves. Number 7, KFC. KFC used to be an icon, a brand that felt undeniably American. Hot fried chicken, crispy skin, oversized portions, and that smiling Southern gentleman on every box. But if you live in the heartland, try finding a KFC that's still lit up. Not so easy anymore. Since mid-2024, KFC has shut down more than 100 stores across states like Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, and much of the Midwest. They call it network optimization. In reality, it's pulling out of places that just don't make enough money anymore. And here's the bitter irony: while Americans struggle to find a bucket of fried chicken that tastes like it used to, KFC is booming in China, India, and Southeast Asia. There are more than 500 locations in Shanghai alone. In small towns across Vietnam, KFC is still opening new stores. See the contradiction: a brand born in Kentucky, built on American working-class culture, once a point of pride for everyday families, now puts overseas customers first. So the question is KFC still truly American? And deeper than that, why do companies that grew powerful thanks to US consumers, turn their backs the moment profits shift abroad. It's not because the food suddenly got worse. It's not because the brand lost its appeal. It's because KFC, like so many global corporations, now sees Americans as a secondary market. You know that feeling, right? When the very place you used to take your kids, the chain you once recommended, proudly decides to invest across the ocean instead of keeping one small store alive in your own neighborhood. Some people call it globalization. For many Americans, it feels more like being replaced. And the sad truth is, you won't see KFC apologizing. They don't need to. With their growth in Asia, they don't need you anymore. This isn't just a brand in decline. It's part of a bigger story. One where American consumers are no longer at the center of the very things they created. When an American symbol like KFC retreats from the places that once defined it, what can you still count on? As these 7 fast food chains shrink, disappear, or lose themselves, we're not just watching a business shakeup. We're watching something bigger. An America where working-class families are slowly pushed aside. The brands that once stood by us through late-night dinners are leaving without a goodbye, and the gap they leave behind, it's not always something that gets replaced.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.